Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the NECA Toys, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This is the Retro Cloth Wild Stallions. Bill S. Preston Esquire, Ted Theodore Logan, they are the Wild Stallions. This comes to us from the folks over at NECA Toys. Not only do you get yourself a Bill and Ted included with their guitars, but we spin around the back of the package. It also comes with your very own most non-heinous phone booth, which is a nice touch. I wish, if anything, that they would have come with a phone booth. Sure enough, NECA got you covered. You get yourself a little cardboard fold together phone booth. Very cool. I like that. The Wild Stallions are Bill S. Preston Esquire guitar, Ted Theodore Logan, also on guitar. 700 years in the future, the Wild Stallions' message of be excellent to each other is the basis of most bodacious utopian society. But if they flunk high school history, that future might never be. Bill and Ted's Most Excellent collection is flying your way in a deluxe Blu-ray box set featuring both movies and loaded with a brand new bonus features. And also complete your Bill and Ted NECA collection with the Rufus figure exclusively at shoutfactory.com. Sadly, I never got a chance to pick up the Rufus. Very happy, though, was able to pick up Bill and Ted. To check out more from the folks over at NECA Toys, it's as easy as heading over to www.necaonline.com. That's your address. That's where you can go. You may not have to travel there with a time machine, but it's very easy to type that in on the interweb. Go right to their website. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Bill and Ted Wild Stallions box set from the folks over at NECA Toys. There's more anyway, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. So a couple of really cool things that come with the Bill and Ted Wild Stallions set. For starters, if you open up the box, there is a cardboard insert that sits essentially behind the figures. So when you display these guys, you can move the figures out of the way, stand that up, or as best you can. I'm just doing it really on this backdrop here. You can take the figures, and providing you can get them to stand, you know what, let's see if I can run it to the back there. There we go. You can put your figures in the front of it. Get them to stand. Spot's reaching quite a distance to get these to stand properly. There we go. And you can get both Bill and Ted, the Wild Stallions, representing their band right in front of the cardboard insert, which for some reason I cannot get him to stand. Anyways, that's essentially what you can do, which is pretty cool. It would be much cooler, of course, if I could get the cardboard standee to stand and lean against something. But you can see how you can present the two figures in front of that. Really nice touch. Despite all that, let's move the figures forward here. Again, I don't know why these figures are not the easiest to stand. There we go. Now, of course, now it stands. Let's move the guitars out of the way. Bring the cardboard insert. I'll just kind of hold it so you guys can see. See? That's a good way to, you can display the figures with that. It's not the most secure, sturdiest of cardboard standees, so you would actually have to have it standing against something or leaning against something. The other thing that comes included with the Bill and Ted is the phone booth, which I have not built yet, so I figured I'd do this on camera here. I'm just going to take the tape and remove it. There we go. And remove it. I'm sure it's, if you put together a box at any given point over the course of your life, the box here, the phone booth, is probably not that much different. It's going to be essentially like a shoe box. There we go. Move these guys back, move those back, and we'll just open this up. Yeah, it's exactly what I would have expected it to be. These just hinge open. That folds like that. Just hinge this a little bit better. There we go. And, oh, okay, so that folds down like that. That folds down. And then you get the little tab point, and that tucks into the front. All right, so there's the top half of the booth. Let's do the same with the other side here, now that we know what we're doing. Fold that down, fold the sides down, I granted could have done this before the review started, but I wanted to show you guys what I thought was going to be a fairly easy to build phone booth, and sure enough, it's not too bad. It's just a matter of folding stuff in place. Move Ted out of the way, move Bill out of the way. There we go. And there you have the phone booth. One would not necessarily expect this to be plastic. I'm completely content with it being cardboard. I don't need necessarily a functioning phone booth, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Phone booth looks good though. There's the front of it. I guess I should have had it like that. Like that. They could have had the little antenna at the top, but that makes things a little bit more difficult when it comes to cardboard. But overall, a nice looking, decent enough phone booth. Serves what purpose it needs to. Perfectly fine with that. All right, so let's have a look at some of the other accessories. Then we'll look at Bill and Ted, respectively. For starters, they both come with guitars. Like that. Looks really nice. Actually, both guitars are very well done. Both paint. I like how there's a transition of like an airbrushed paint here. A little lighter as it gets closer to the front plate here of the guitar, and a little darker around the edges. Some additional silver accents. They've done this nice grain work also into the handle, or neck. I don't know what the actual, is the neck of the guitar. Strings are done nicely in silver, but on top of a black backdrop here. So you've got the black, and then they painted the strings over top of that. Whammy bar, would that be a whammy bar? That's painted and also in silver. Very nice. Now the only downside, actually, here's Ted's. And the same coloring that was done on the neck here is done completely on this guitar. Looks fairly good as like a wood grain here with some silver accents. The strings also painted in nicely in silver. The only downside to the guitars, though, is that both of them come with their corresponding like shoulder straps. The only downside, though, is the fact that if you look at the knob right at the end there, and you look at the handle, the strap hole, the hole is really small. I started to put it on the little knob here, and it takes a lot to get it on here. The hole, I feel it could have also been just a little bit bigger. It might stand to reason that too much, if the hole had been too big, it might not have sat properly. But prior to putting it on, I wanted to show you guys that the holes on the straps seem very, very small. You can see that I get it on there, but I think a little too small for my liking. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with Ted's. And there's the hole there. I guess my biggest concern too was the little plugs that sit out from the guitar. The plugs that these connect to, I felt they were going to be really flimsy. I guess by closer inspection, the plugs are a denser plastic, so they're not as prone to breaking as I initially thought. But boy, I did actually think I was going to break these when I was putting the straps on. Might have led to a little bit of apprehension on my part before I actually entertained the idea of putting these straps completely on. Just a little bit finagling. Try to get it over the plug here. It's always the last one that gives you the most problems. There we go. And you've got both guitars now strapped. Before we put those on to their corresponding heroes, let's have a look at the figures themselves. Because overall, like, I'm really happy with this set. Excuse me. I think the set has turned out really nicely. And so, for example, here we have Bill S. Preston, Esquire. Of the two, I think he's the one that could afford having a Bill and Ted's third movie. Apparently, there's rumors and speculations that we are getting a Bill and Ted 3. I think of the two characters, or two actors, he is the most anxious for this movie to happen. It's essentially the same as kind of like Danny Glover with Lethal Weapon 4. Gibson didn't necessarily have to do Lethal Weapon 4. Danny Glover was more than happy to do Lethal Weapon 4. I feel like the same thing can be said for the actor, can't remember his name, who played Bill S. Preston. The only other thing I remember him from is Lost Boys. That's it. He does look good, though, here in retro figure form. Now, because these are retro cloth figures, they are making use of the same body, which normally they have to conceal because they're ripped, they got abs and stuff like that. But I guess because Bill here is you know, a younger teen, they could get away with the fact that a little bit more of the torso is showing, because after all, he's a younger kid and stuff like that. You couldn't put that necessarily visible on a Freddy Krueger or like a heavier set figure or something like that. Face sculpt's quite good. I think it captures perfectly not only the likeness, but also a fairly good expression of what one would expect from a Bill. In the back there, Wild Stallions. B. Preston right there. These guys tied up shirt. I wouldn't actually entertain taking this off. I've learned my lesson from the Friday 13th Part 2 Jason. I should have just kind of been a little bit more careful and not just pull the cord out, because now I have to kind of hand tie it back into place. This is perfectly fine the way it is. I'm just going to leave it as is. He's got his gray slacks with the upside down question mark, and not to mention his white Converse shoes, which I thought initially they painted in the wrong place, but then I realized it was just, I'm being silly. That's just where the plug was in for the ankle articulation. Speaking of articulation on these figures, Bill's head is on a ball joint. The shoulders hinge out, but I find they're really stiff. Not as stiff as Ted, because Ted's got the jacket and stuff on there, but even Bill, I find Bill's a little stiff in the arm sockets. He's got the hinge in the elbow, and he also has the rotation and hinge in the hand. You'll see as well that they've sculpted the hands for strumming the guitars. So we'll get that in place in a second. Waist swivel, and then you've got forward and back motion on the legs. Split cut as well, a bend at the knee, and also the hinge in the foot. Let's go ahead and get the guitar onto Bill here. Get the strap over his head. Actually, it might be easier doing it this way, bending the elbow. There we go. And putting that in place. And you can have him holding the guitar perfectly fine, as you can see by the other hand being opened. And there is Bill S. Preston, Esquire. Put him right there. I find also that the ankles are a little, not loose, but awkward on these figures, that trying to get them to stand properly. Now granted, keeping in mind I've got them on a fabric backdrop. I don't find they sit well. I might just get myself a nice plastic stand, or really putting it just on my shelf as is. I'm sure they'll stand perfectly fine. Of the two actors, then you've got the more successful Keanu Reeves, now seeing success with John Wick 2. Who would have thought John Wick 2 would have either made it to the theaters or also had been a success? I love John Wick 1. Didn't expect John Wick 2 to be such a big success, but that's good. Good for you, Keanu. Keanu also very successful of the two. I think he did the best out of the two actors, going on to movies such as Speed. I mean, I could have just list off all the Keanu Reeves movies. Speed, Matrix, trying to think of other, what's another Keanu Reeves movie? Oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, I could go on and on and on about Keanu Reeves movies. He's done very well for himself. Johnny Mnemonic, a lot better than this guy right here. Likeness-wise, for a younger Keanu Reeves, I think, granted, Keanu's what? He's got to be in his late 40s, early 50s now, maybe he's late 40s. He looks the same. Does this guy age at all? I mean, we're looking at Keanu here at a younger actor, younger period of his life, but I don't feel like he's that much different than how he looks now, other than he's just got more facial hair and he cares less about the world. He does have a pink jacket that you can remove, and to be honest, I think for displaying the figure, I'd be likely to display him without the jacket. I think it fits better a Bill and Ted look than giving him the pink jacket, but you could go either or. At least by these being retro cloth, the sleeves are really just part of the jacket. You take the sleeves off, you will have a bare sleeved, as you can see there, a bare sleeved version of Ted here. So I like that. He's got his vest, white t-shirt underneath. Got his black shorts with Save the Humans on there and a little happy face. And then he's got like a pair of like leggings underneath that, and his versions of the Converse shoes as well. As opposed to Bill's white, Ted's are a black with some blue laces. Articulation on Ted is exactly the same as Bill. The only difference is that he's a little bit more limited here. This is where it's a little bit more tighter. The arms move out fine, but moving the arms forward and back, you do feel a lot of the tightness up at the shoulder portion when you start moving those arms. Then we can go ahead and get his guitar going as well. Bend the arm, having learned our lesson with Bill. And getting it over his head. There we go. Again, the only thing missing from this set, the fact that you get a Bill, you get a Ted, and you also get yourself the very crucial, get it under his collar, there we go. You get the very crucial also phone booth. You get everything that you need except for Rufus, and I kicked myself that I never got a chance to pick up the Shout Factory release of Rufus. I might try to track him down so that finally I can have the completed Wild Stallions. Now granted, the Wild Stallions are really only the duo here, but a Rufus with the telephone box behind I think would be a nice touch as well. Great looking figures. This is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to retro cloth figure releases. By giving us a same body and simply just changing out the fabric, NECA saves a lot when it comes to retooling figures and new sculpts, new molds, so it gives us the opportunity of getting figures that we wouldn't normally get. Would we have ever seen a Wild Stallions release in 6-inch or 7-inch plastic release form? Probably not. With NECA though, with giving us retro cloth versions, we finally get the Wild Stallions here in plastic form, and in some regards, a costume form as well. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the NECA toys. This was the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This was the Wild Stallions 2-pack. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. Spot's got more videos heading your way as well. Thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.